As King Speed was carrying Gorfang on his back to the cremation ground, Gorfang leaned close and said, in his eerie, calm voice, "I will tell you a story, but there is a condition. At the end, I will ask you a question. If you answer correctly, I will return to my tree, but if you remain silent even knowing the answer, your head will burst, and you will die." King Speed, never one to back down from a challenge, nodded firmly. "I accept," he said. Gorfang's eyes gleamed as he began. A king named Rowan ruled in Luminara. He had a son named Prince Valor. One day, the prince, along with his clever friend, went hunting in the forest. While wandering, they came across a pond. Lotuses bloomed in its waters and swans frolicked. Dense trees lined the banks, birds chirping. The two friends stopped there, washed their hands and faces in the pond. When they came out after visiting the pond, they saw the princess bathing with her friends at the pond's edge. The clever friend remained sitting under a tree, but the prince could not resist. He moved closer. The princess looked at him and he was captivated. Then she took the lotus flower from her hair, placed it to his ear, bit it with his teeth, crushed it under his feet, and then holding it to his chest, left with her friends. After her departure, the prince, disheartened, returned to his friend and recounted the entire incident. He said, "I can't live without this princess. However, I do not know her name or whereabouts. How can I find her?" The clever friend said, "Prince, don't be so worried. She's told you everything." The prince asked, "How?" He said, "She took the lotus flower from her head and placed it near her ears, and she told him she was from City Loair. Biting it with her teeth meant she was the daughter of King Toothsale. Pressing it with her feet meant she was Vitalia, and hugging her to her chest, she told him she had taken her heart." The prince was overjoyed to hear this. He said, "Now take me to City Loair." The two friends left. After wandering and exploring, they arrived after several days. When they reached the King Toothsale Palace, there they found an old woman sitting at her door. Approaching her, they both dismounted their horses and said, "Mother, we are merchants. Our goods are coming back. Please give us some space to stay." Seeing their appearance and hearing their conversation, the old woman's heart was filled with affection. She said, "Son, this is your house. Stay as long as you like." They both stayed there. The clever friend asked her, "Mother, what do you do? Who all are there in your house? How do you make ends meet?" The old woman replied, "Son, I have a son who is in the King Toothsale service. I was the nurse of the king's daughter, Vitalia. Now that I am old, I stay at home. The king provides food and drink. I go to the palace once a day to see the Princess Vitalia." The prince gave the old woman some money and said, "Mother, when you go there tomorrow, tell the Princess Vitalia that the prince you met at the pond has returned." The next day, when the old woman went to the palace, she gave him the prince's message. Upon hearing this, the princess became enraged. She applied sandalwood paste to her hands, slapped the old woman on the cheek, and said, "Get out of my house." The old woman returned home and told the prince everything. The prince was stunned. Then his friend said, "Prince, don't worry. Understand what she is saying. She dipped 10 fingers in white sandalwood, meaning that there are still 10 moonlit days left, and I'll meet you in the dark night after those days." 10 days later, the old woman again informed the princess, and this time she dipped 5 fingers in saffron paint, slapped her on the face, and said, "Get out of here." The old woman returned and told him everything. The prince was distraught with grief. The clever friend explained, "What's there to be surprised about? She said that she is menstruating. Wait 5 more days." 5 days later, the old woman arrived again. This time, the princess scolded her and threw her out the western window. She came and told the prince. Hearing this, the clever friend said, "Friend, she has called you through that window tonight." The prince jumped with joy. When the time came, he wore the old woman's clothes, applied perfume, and packed his weapons. At 2 o'clock in the night, he reached the palace and entered through the window. The princess was standing there ready. She led him inside. The sight inside opened the prince's eyes. There were many wonderful things. The prince stayed with the princess all night. As daylight approached, the princess hid him and brought him out again at nightfall. Several days passed like this. Suddenly, one day, the prince remembered his friend. He was worried about what might have happened to him. Seeing him sad, the princess asked the reason, and he told her. He said, "He is my dear friend. He is very clever. It is because of his cleverness that I was able to meet you." The princess said, "I'll have a delicious meal prepared for her. You feed him and then return." Taking the food with him, the prince went to his friend. They had not met for a month. Upon meeting, the prince recounted the entire story and said, "I told the princess everything about your cleverness, which is why she sent this meal." The clever friend was in deep thought. He said, "You didn't do the right thing. The princess understands that as long as I am here, she cannot control you. That's why she mixed poison in this food and sent it." Saying this, the clever friend picked up a bite from the plate and threw it to the dog. The dog died immediately after eating it. The prince felt very bad. He said, "God save me from such a woman. I won't go near her again." The clever friend said, "No, we must teach her a lesson and find a way to take her home. You go there to her tonight. When the princess falls asleep, sit on her left side. Make a trident mark on your thigh and take her jewelry." The prince did just that. The clever friend disguised himself as a yogi, sat in the cremation ground, and told the prince to take the jewelry and sell it in the market. "If anyone catches you, tell them to go to my guru and bring him here." The prince did the same, took the jewelry to the city, and showed it to a goldsmith near the palace. The goldsmith recognized them immediately and took him to the police chief. When the police chief asked, he said that his guru had given them to him. The guru was also arrested. Everyone appeared before the king. The king Toothsale asked, "Yogi Maharaj, where did you get these jewelry?" The clever friend, disguised as a yogi, said, "Your Majesty, I was practicing the Dakini mantra in the cremation ground when a night witch appeared. I took off her jewelry and made a trident mark on her left thigh." Hearing this, the king went to the palace and asked the queen to check Vitalia's left thigh for a trident mark. The queen saw it, and it was there. The king was deeply saddened. Coming out, he took the yogi aside and asked, "Your Majesty, what is the punishment for wicked women in the scriptures?" The yogi replied, "King, if a Brahmin, a cow, a woman, a child, or someone under your protection commits a wicked act, they should be banished from the country." Hearing this, the king placed Vitalia in a palanquin and released her in the forest. The prince and the clever friend were already waiting. Finding the princess alone and crying, they took her with them, returned to their city, and began to live happily. After saying this, Gorfang said, "King Speed, tell me who is guilty in this story." The King Speed said, "The King Toothsal is guilty of the sin because the clever friend acted on his master's orders. The police officer obeyed the king, and the prince achieved his wish. The King Toothsal committed a sin by banishing him without thinking. As soon as the King Speed said this, Gorfang went and hung himself on the same tree." Learning from the story, intelligence and patience can overcome danger and deception, but the greatest wrongdoing occurs when those in power act without wisdom, because a ruler's hasty judgment can cause more harm than the schemes of the clever or the mistakes of the guilty. See you in the next part of this story.